Hi, guys, and welcome back to Mystic Mamas. We're your host. I'm Dakota,
And I'm Danielle.
and today we're going to talk about a few things, actually. We're going to go into our biggest lessons of 2023, and then we're going to go into what we're going to leave behind in 2023 and what we're aligning with in 2024, and then the manifestation tools that we're using so that we can bring those into 2024 for sure, right?
Yeah.
Um, And I guess I'll go ahead and start off with our biggest lesson. My personal biggest lesson, which I thought Danielle and I had the same one. We do not. So I love that for us. But I was like, oh, we're so going to have the same one.
you
Okay.
know, you're
But we
not
do,
off.
but we don't.
It was a good lesson for me too. I feel like in motherhood and in life, especially these last 4 years, I feel like I've had lots of big lessons in a very little time period. So you're not off. We
Yeah.
have some of a lot of the same lessons, just my biggest takeaway was a little bit different, but same, usual.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like whenever you told me yours, I was like, yeah, that hits too. Anyway, I'll go into mine. So, mine is to surrender to the flow of life and to let go of what we cannot control and to be more present because the present moment is all we ever have. The past and the future don't exist. All we ever have is now. So, what I mean by that is like, if you ever think about, like, oh, okay, you have all these goals, right? And when you meet that goal, you're still in the present moment. You're never in the future per se, right? And then whenever you like think about the past actually doesn't exist because you are now in the present moment. So just being fully present in where you're at now is the most important thing because I feel like also when you lead with presence, you let go of things like anxiousness, which is something I really fought in this whole 2023 year and the year before that, really, but more so this year, just being a new mother and stuff. I feel like I wasn't always confident in my decisions and the things that I
Mm.
was doing. And especially when it came to like real mother things. Like I feel like the podcast I was anxious to, but that feels like my past self kind of, right? Like coming back out. So it felt like kind of good in a sense, but when it came to like things like doctor's visits and me not knowing answers or I don't know, not knowing how to feed my kid or things just I didn't know. I felt really anxious around them. And yeah, so I just feel like overall what God, what source, what universe was telling me was to surrender to the flow of life. And if I don't know something, that doesn't mean anything about me. But yeah, that I can't control everything either. Like exactly. If I don't understand something, I can't control that situation. That's okay. Like let it go. It is what it is. It doesn't mean anything about me. But yeah. And Danielle, you can go ahead and talk about
Yeah,
yours.
no, for sure. I feel that, and anxiety around motherhood's a lot, especially
Yeah.
those things. It's so unknown, and I feel like we tend to. You and I both have that personality type where it's like we want to do our best, and if we don't, we feel like we're failing immediately
Yeah.
just because we don't know what we're doing. When it's such a learning process and it's never ending with motherhood and babies turning into toddlers and all the things, so definitely resonate with that too. And mine falls along motherhood as well. And I think my biggest takeaway this year was just that everything about my journey through motherhood means that like my whole everything has to change for me. I
Mm.
knew on a surface level how much has to change in motherhood, but I think I spent a lot of this year trying to like squeeze in parts of my past and past versions of myself that just never aligned. And like even small things like how I approached weight loss or how I approached healing and mental health, like everything shifted. All the things I tried to do that worked for me in the past, these things didn't not work. They just don't work for me now. And so for me, I really just have to let go of my past and who I've been before and kind of really step into the unknown of who I am becoming now,
Yeah.
because it's just a totally different person. And everything I do, down to like my morning routines, down to like literally everything, I can't really like put it all into words, but like on a soul level, I've just changed so much. And even though there are things that I love about my past life, I still have to be okay with letting them go because they just don't work for me anymore. And like a big one is even just like going out, like we've talked before, like as much as I miss certain things about my social life, I find myself when I go, it doesn't really align with me anymore in a way
Hmm.
that like I don't feel the same way I did about it. And I spent a lot of this year trying to like kind of resist those certain changes.
Mm.
Another big one is cannabis use. If you know me, you know I've been a cannabis user for a long time. And although I don't think I think it's a plant medicine. I think it's very vital for a lot of people. And I don't have any judgments on it. Like I said, I've done it for so long, and I thought it would fit in this realm for me, and it just
Mhm.
hasn't. And I felt a lot of like me trying to almost force it for some reason, because I don't even know why, but it was an attachment, I guess. And yeah, it's just like even things like that down. There's so much about motherhood for me that just isn't working, and I kind of didn't waste time. It was a big lesson. Like it was my biggest lesson this year was to just kind of let go and allow myself to enter a really new stage that's full of like different routines and habits and mindsets and rewires. And it's just it was a big one, and it was hard, and I felt like I resisted a lot of that lesson, and so it kind of prolonged it throughout the year.
Yeah.
And it falls into the same thing about with like health. I approached the beginning of the year, and this is like a win and a lesson, but I broke a pattern I've had for a very long time, and that is focusing on my physical health to help my mental health. Where actually this year I really learned to focus on my mental health, and weight loss and physical health is just kind of a happy side effect of that. Whenever
Yeah.
you're in alignment with your mental health and you're working towards certain things with your mental health, like the rest falls into place so well. It does not work the other way around. I have learned that lesson time and time again. And I almost went into this year
Doing
learning
it
that
again.
same
Yeah.
lesson, but luckily I really broke that pattern, and I'm very, very proud of myself for that win. And proud that I finally took that lesson on, because for me, I'm the type of person that sometimes, most of the time, honestly, if I'm being real, like it takes me a couple times to learn a good lesson. And
Yeah. That's why we have patterns in our life, so we can figure
yeah,
out what's
as-
going on here.
yeah. And so those are my wins, and those are my lessons from this year. And just the fact that like motherhood has given me an opportunity to have a like more expansive life and not a more constrictive life, whereas I think I went into motherhood thinking it was going to keep me
Yeah.
from a lot of things and keep me from achieving certain dreams or whatever. And it just really didn't. And honestly, it's just expanding my life and giving me so much more to my life in a sense. And every dream I have is not only like still attainable, but I have more push for it than I ever did before. And
Yeah. Your why
so
is bigger than ever before once you have a
yeah,
kid.
yeah, exactly. And like I was telling Dakota, this affirmation I've been saying to myself lately is that everything I desire is a pathway to my future, not a missed exit from my past. So I didn't miss anything. Like I still very much so have the navigation tools to get where I want to go. It's just a different route.
Yeah, when you think about that also, I feel like when I think about it, it's like if I would have gone down that path, like the person I am now just doesn't align with it. So I feel like I would be going down a different and better path now. Like I'm just a complete 180 of who I used to be. So like going down that path wouldn't have beneficial to me anyway. Like that's kind of how I see it. Like I also see it like if you've heard I don't know, different speakers talk about this, but I love how they talk about how you can look at your life kind of like you are looking at the GPS and you're going towards the like destination that you want. However, maybe you miss the exit, right? And so it takes you down a different way. It's like that's life. You're ultimately going to get to where you need to be or where you're supposed to be or where you're destined to be. But it doesn't mean that you're not going to have like um, kind of mess ups or different pathways that you
Detours.
go down. Yeah, detours. That's what I'm looking for. Perfect.
Yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
I love that. And then I was also gonna kind of like combining ours because I feel like this is where it meets both of like what you said with identity and mine with surrender is I feel like we're both letting go of this hustle culture and like being in motherhood allows you to be in the flow of life because you have to be. Like
Literally.
I can't decide that I'm going to do well I can decide I'm going to do all these things in the morning like journaling, meditating and have a strict schedule, but like when it comes down to my baby, if my baby don't want to do that, I can't like I'm not going to do that. Like that's just what life is now and I'm actually okay with that for the first time in my life. Like I
Yeah.
actually prefer that for the first time in my life whereas like I don't have to hold on to perfectionism anymore, which I guess we can go into what we're leaving behind, because I feel like this is one of my top ones is I'm letting
Yeah,
go of perfectionism. I'm letting go of the fact that like not everything has to be perfect. And matter of fact, nothing is perfect
no
ever.
doubt. That's perfectionism's on my list too. So I feel the same way, and it's been a struggle for me because I actually do thrive in a like kind of a stricter routine situation, and I
Yeah.
tend to be kind of the chaos of not knowing how my day is going to go tends to lead me to not. But I've really learned to kind of adapt to this because it's the
Yeah.
same, right? I can say I want to get up. Like for me, I like to get up early and do a full routine before my son wakes up, but there is no before my son wakes up. He wakes up at
Yeah.
5 a.m. Like I can't just do what I want to do. And then I can't, if I like to go run in the mornings, but I can't do that when it's 35 degrees out. I can't take him. I would go, but he can't.
Yeah.
There are days where he wakes up and he's fussy and I got to do certain things. And there is no, like, you kind of have to surrender to the flow when you're a mom because there's just like no chance at perfectionism. Like, your kid won't allow it. And no one has that. Like, no one's perfect. No one's
Yeah.
life is perfect. No one gets through a perfect routine every single day of their life. And I think it's a part of a way that we tend to like kind of keep ourselves in this like shame, blame, and like guilt situation where, oh, we didn't do that, now we get to shame ourselves for that, or now we get to guilt ourselves because we didn't get anything done. And that's another thing, that's one of my outs this year, is shame, blame, and guilting myself to death over
Same.
every single thing I do,
Yep.
especially in motherhood. Like,
Yeah.
there is not a day that goes by that I don't like find some way to shame, blame, or guilt myself for what I'm doing, what I'm not doing, what other kids are doing, what other moms or people are doing. And that leads me to another out, which is comparison.
Yeah, I actually don't have that one on there, but that's a great one too. I have the same thing though. I have mom guilt. And I feel like even just sitting down to do this podcast, I just told you, I was like, I feel bad that they're in the other room. They're having to wait on me do the podcast. It's like small things like that. And I was listening to this woman speak on her podcast actually. And she was just talking about how it was kind of like a tough love situation. And I think I needed that because she talks about how like you don't have to feel guilty, like you can let go of that belief, that thought. Like it doesn't actually have to exist. And matter of fact, like it would be beneficial if it didn't exist in the first place. So just let it go. Like Fred already said it was cool that he was going to sit in the room with the baby. Like I didn't have to have that thought or feeling. Like I am allowed to let it go. And the thing is too, what I've learned by reading the book of the habit of breaking the habit of being yourself is like that we get stuck in these like loops of thoughts and feelings because like that's what we're addicted to within the body. And so it's really important to like step out of that mind frame, step out of that person that you are currently being, because obviously it doesn't suit you for your future. So yeah, I just definitely resonate with that one. And also comparison. Yeah, I'd be comparing myself way too much. And matter of fact, I was also going to touch on that too, that if you ever see someone on social media and they are, doing their daily routines, and I'll talk about myself. It maybe seem like I do my daily routines perfectly every morning. I may get one or two things done. It's never the same. I
Yeah.
never have 2 days consecutive in a row doing the same thing. Like maybe the only thing I really do get done is a face dunk, and that's because it's pretty easy for me to get that done, and some
Yeah.
skincare now. But like there's days where I'm not doing my journaling until night. There's days where I'm not getting my workout in fully. There's days where I'm only going to the gym every other day. Like, yeah, it just really depends. So, like, I also feel like people portray what they want online, right? We only see like the good parts because not everyone wants to share the shitty parts. And so it's just important just to focus on your own self and your own growth and where you want to go.
Yeah. And I feel that way in every area. I tend to find myself trapped in a comparisonitis situation, and especially on social media, and
Yeah.
especially in the world of
Yeah.
motherhood. It's so hard to not compare you or your child to other people, and I do my very best on working through that. And this year I feel like I've gotten really strong in that and allowing myself to just like let it be me and my kids experience
Yeah.
instead of like me and everyone else's experience with motherhood, because no kid is the same. And that's something I've learned over the last year and a half of having one, is that they're just so different. And allowing ourselves to compare to all these other people that we don't even know or know the
Mhm.
reality of is just so harmful to our mental health. And so that's something big. And I feel like it goes in like the perfect circle with shame, blame, and guilt, because once you start
Yeah.
comparing, you start shaming and guilting and blaming and all
Yeah.
these things. And I do that a lot. And then if I can't find something now, I find something to do from my past. And I'm like, so done with my past, like you were talking about earlier, is like there doesn't even exist anymore. And I think
Yeah.
that's another thing with learning to let go of who I was before pregnancy and motherhood. Like that doesn't exist anymore. No part of that exists anymore. Not even if I
Mhm.
wanted to like step back into what I was doing, none of that exists. None of the group of people, none of it, it's all in the past. And so for me, letting go of my past self in a way that like I don't know her. I I
Yeah.
really want to step into who I am now presently and who I'm working towards and being in the future. And that also includes with like letting go of doubting myself.
I have
Uh
self-doubt on there too.
Self-doubt is heavy for me,
Me
especially
too.
again. All this is going to be really not only in my life but in motherhood. I, like you were
Yeah.
talking about earlier, I doubt a lot of my mothering decisions. I have a lot of self-doubt in what I'm doing. I tend to tell myself I don't know what I'm doing a lot, and I want to stop repeating that to myself, because obviously, you know, your words are powerful, and I don't want to be affirming that I don't know what I'm doing, when in reality, like, none of us fucking know what we're doing. When we're parenting, we're all doing our best. We're learning, we're taking from what we learn, and it's trial and error, because even if one thing worked for one kid, it might not work for your kid. And
Exactly.
so like it's not something that anyone knows what they're doing. It's just
Yeah.
we're all doing our fucking best.
Yeah.
And so I really want to leave behind doubting myself in every area, like especially motherhood though.
No, I agree with that. And also, I feel like this correlates with all of the things we just said, but should and need. Because when I have self-doubt, it's like I should be doing this. I need to be doing this. And I really want to let go of those like phrases because again, words are like spells, right? When you think about spelling, the first part is spell. So it's like you're casting a spell on yourself with the words that you're creating out in the universe. So make sure you're watching your words. But yes, I
Yes.
really want to let go of should and need. Those are like I'm always saying I need, but one word that you can switch out with need is I intend. So you intend to do
Yeah.
something. Should, I think it also, you can like maneuver that into intend as well or want. I feel like it's okay to want something or desire something, but make sure it's not coming from like I need, make sure it's
Yeah.
more of
A
like
desperate energy.
yeah, desperate energy. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, for sure. And it's the same, like you're not, words are so powerful no matter what stage, but especially right now with me and Oliver. Oliver's in a stage where he is really taking language on, and like I
Hmm.
find myself saying things out loud that I don't want to put into his mind for limiting beliefs. And
Yep.
so using words like that and using language or saying out loud, I don't know what I'm doing, or like any kind of thing like that, like it has such a more deeper meaning to at this point. And even with Harper, I mean, she understands.
Yeah.
Words are powerful at no matter what age, but I don't, I'm at a stage where Oliver's actually repeating them. And
Yeah.
I
That's
do not
scary.
want him to repeat
Yeah.
certain things or aspects or like my limiting beliefs. And so, yeah, that's a big one for me too.
Yeah. Another one I have on there, which I feel like goes with, I feel like all of them very much correlate, but is uncertainty, like uncertainty in all of it. Like, I guess that goes with self-doubt, right? Like you just don't
Yeah.
want to feel like what you're doing is wrong or you're not sure, the I don't know. I want to let go of that as well because I also say that too. And it comes out so casually that I'm like, oh, wait, no, I didn't want to say that. Like, my bad, you know?
Yeah.
So it's all about just being conscious and aware. And I feel like even especially when you're talking with your partner or your family, because I think those things tend to come out more easily because you're so used to doing it around those people, you know?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
yeah, just making sure that you're really conscious of, yeah, uncertainty, self-doubt. What did we say? Should and need, mom guilt.
Yeah.
I yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, and all that falls into like even more so like going like deeper into that is like an out for me also is that I want to stop giving into like old patterns and paradigms that no longer serve me, especially the
Mhm.
ones that like I know and recognize. There are some that I'm sure I have patterns all day, right? We all do. Some of them I know, some of them I don't know, and that's the learning process, but there are definitely patterns that I am well aware of and have the
Yeah.
tools to break free of. And
Yep.
that's where I'm at right now, is that those specific patterns in my life I want to really let go of this year and kind of like make room for me to learn new patterns and new mistakes,
Yeah.
like new spots
New mistakes.
where I need to heal and up level, but I can't keep trying to heal the same one over and over again, especially when I'm so aware. And
Yeah,
that's
it's funny. Sorry, go ahead. Are you
no,
done?
you're good.
Okay. I always feel bad cutting off, but I feel like that goes with what my next one was just scarcity. But when I mean scarcity, I mean with money, because my money mindset is just
Woo,
like,
money.
it goes over my head because you've been focused on it lately. And in my head, I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm good. And then I was thinking about it the other day. I'm like, I am not good. I need to work through this. Like, I think I've been so in denial about my money mindset and like scarcity around it that I've just been ignoring it and putting it like in my subconscious mind, like, hey, we don't need to, that doesn't need to be worked through right now. But as I'm going through all of it and just like how I want to grow into 2024 is really just like let go of that scarcity mindset and let go of the fact that like, money is energetic. It works with us, right? It works for us. So we need to let go of the fact that like it's scarce, because literally there's been multiple times in my life where like I felt like I wasn't going to have any money and poof, it pops up, in my world. So it's just like I want to let go of the fact that like I feel like it's scarce when I know that it's not. It's easy to make money. Money comes to me easily and effortlessly.
Listen, yes, I want to be that guy. I really do. I want to be that person who feels that to the core, and I'm working towards it, but I'm in the same boat. Like, I have money on here also because money is probably my biggest. I have a lot of money blocks that I'm like that are coming up to the surface, and I don't know if it's because I'm not working, and
Mm,
I am not the one bringing in the muscle money, and I can't jump into that hustle culture I always had. So it's like more of a like I feel more like I can't do anything about it sometimes, even though I
yeah.
know that everything I'm doing, everything I do makes me a millionaire. But also, I would like to feel that energetically deep down, and I know
Yeah.
that that's the block that's keeping me from manifesting those things and like feeling it. And at the same time, there's so much proof in my life, like literal proof that I'm always okay. That money
Yeah.
is always when I need it, and money is always in our bank, and we always have it. Our bills are always paid, and no matter
Mm,
what happens, I have never gone without what I need or desire.
yes.
And I have to literally like pull out the receipts. Like literally look at my life and be like, damn, like I don't even know where this scarcity feeling comes from because I've never been without.
Childhood, bro,
But yeah, I
childhood.
mean, I know. Okay, we can get deep
Yeah.
into. I know where this trauma comes from, mom, dad. But
Thank you.
no, but it's just money blocks are so difficult, and I don't want to invalidate that because, especially in this economic climate, like I also have to remind myself that it's not all my fault.
Yeah.
It's not my fault the grocery store prices are outrageous. It's not my
Mhm.
fault that the everything feels so heavy because it is. Economically, it is heavy right now. It is
Yeah.
a lot, and we all know that we're being fucking taken advantage of in
Yeah.
every area of this country when it comes to finances. And
And a
so
lot of other things.
yeah, and and so I don't want to invalidate that. And if you're listening and you're one of me, because I tend to be one of those people sometimes when I hear this kind of like money manifestation, I'm like, it's hard not to roll my eyes, but that's another thing that's like I'm trying to heal and work through and leave in 2023 because that's not going to move us where we want to go. That's an old stagnant energy and pattern that I'm breaking and stepping out of because it's only keeping me in the same money situation. It's not helping
Yeah.
me break free of those blocks. So I have that down, but I also have exchanging money for out of alignment items on my outs.
What do you mean by that?
Um, money's energy, right? So I
Oh,
exchange money,
okay. Gotcha.
but I
Gotcha. Gotcha.
don't want to spend, quote unquote, spend money on things that are out of alignment for me going into
Okay.
2024.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's a good
Uh,
one.
I want to make sure that where I am putting my money, it is in alignment, so that's a good flow and it feels good energetically, and
Mhm,
I don't
mhm.
have something to shame, blame, and guilt myself over spending. And I do that. No,
Yeah.
not I do that quite often. There's a lot of things that I don't need necessarily, but I give it. I don't have a lot of vices anymore, and
Yeah.
spending money is one. And so I tend to like overcompensate for things sometimes by spending money or buying things that aren't necessarily in alignment with our money goals or our financial goals. So I want to stay really in financial alignment with those goals.
Yeah. No, I love that. That's true too. I feel like I'm pretty precise on like what I'm spending. I also feel like I shame, blame, and guilt myself when I'm spending out of alignment because I know that like, oh, we don't really quote unquote need that, you know? So
Yeah.
like that's where like I don't really allow myself to spend, but maybe I want to use this like scarcity money mindset to like allow myself to purchase things for myself and exchange energy for myself that's going to make me feel better in the long term. Like even it's been taking me like probably months on end for even me to buy skincare, and it's because it was my birthday that I allowed myself to buy skincare, when in reality like I've been wanting this for months and I deserve it and I'm allowed to have it. Like why wouldn't I just go and purchase it? Like Harper needs nothing else, you know? I
Yeah.
feel like a lot of the time I'm not allowing myself just to step into who I want to be because I'm so afraid of money and where it should be and should not be going.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so that's a big one. Money mindset for sure. I want to work on that, especially because I just feel like money also pours into a lot of different areas of your life, like time
Whew.
freedom, financial freedom,
Yeah.
like mindset freedom. I just feel like it helps a lot of other areas. So that's important. Just a
Yeah.
couple more that I have on my list are self criticism and anxiousness. So those are my last two. And anxiousness because I think you all know by now that I've been an anxious wreck this whole year, but I'm trying to let go of the fact that like I am not anxious. I am not anxious. I'm not an anxious person. Sometimes I get anxious, which is a feeling, and sometimes I get that, but that doesn't mean that I am anxious. So I'm really trying to let go of that identity of me being a full on anxious person through in and throughout. Like, yeah, I just want to work on that. And then self criticism, but I feel like that bleeds into my anxiousness because I only start getting anxious when I'm having self doubt or self criticism within myself. And as time has gone on and been doing more of this work this year, I've realized that like, yeah, I'm just doing better all around. Like this podcast, I'm not even anxious once. So I'm really proud of myself. But anyway.
Yeah, proud of you too. And those are on mine. I Anxiety is something we both
Yeah.
definitely heavily deal with. I have dealt with it extreme, I feel like you had it really extreme in pregnancy, and I had it in
Hmm.
pregnancy, but it got really extreme when I had Oliver, and it's been that way. And part of it's my OCD, right? I get a lot of really intrusive thoughts around Oliver, and it brings me like really, really hardcore anxiety. And I've been
Mm.
trying like really hard to rewire those thoughts too, because I know they're just thoughts, and most of them are like pretty ridiculous, like not gonna happen type of like freak
Thought,
accident
yeah.
shit.
Hmm.
And so I've been working really hard on rewiring that, and I feel the same. That's something I definitely want to kind of leave behind as much as I can, right? And brains are brains.
Yeah.
Uh, uh, the last couple ones for me are fear of being seen and heard. I have a
Yeah, that's a good one.
I don't know where. Usually, I feel like in the past I have felt pretty like a little confident
Confident.
in it,
Yeah.
but it's just gotten worse and worse. I don't know if it's because I spend so much time at home alone, but I just really want to let that go and allow
Mm.
myself to like step into myself fully confident and under trust in my power and my value, and not have all these weird fears that don't mean anything, like, right? And again, it jumps back to comparison because I compare myself, like, who am I, all of that, right? And I just want to let that go.
Yeah.
And what was we talked about looking back and lingering in the past. I definitely want to let that go. And then the last one, for last two, this one's really big for me, and I know it's going to be big for you, and it's people pleasing.
Oh, yeah.
I am
Don't get me
absolutely
started on that.
I have learned, I don't know if it's like becoming a mother has just shown me how many areas of my life I people please. Like I've noticed this pattern for a long time, right? But like it's just being more and more brought to the surface for me, and
Yeah.
it's getting to the point where like I can't be a people pleaser anymore because I have to be the voice for my son. I have to be
Yep.
the person who sticks up for him in areas that I'm uncomfortable. I need to like I find myself in uncomfortable positions and then I keep my mouth shut or I don't say anything to make someone else comfortable
Yeah, to keep the peace.
and to keep the peace when it's like, why am I focused on other people's comfort when I need to be focused on my own
And
and
you're
what
saying, yeah.
makes me feel good? I don't want to leave somewhere and be like feeling icky for a few days because I didn't stand in my truth or I people pleased and let things go by that don't align with me. And it's like when people use an example is like when people use certain language in front of my son that I do not want him to have or certain words or anything. This came up in this past week, and instead of like speaking up for him and for me, I let it go and slide, and I didn't spiral, but I definitely had this like moment of like shame, blame, guilting myself because I didn't say anything. And if I would have just said something, it would have been nipped in the bud. They would have been uncomfortable, but that's okay. Fuck them. And I would have moved on
Yeah,
with my
literally.
day. Like,
Mhm.
and so I think that was like a really good final 2023 lesson for me is that like it kind of broke the last straw for me where I'm like, okay, people pleasing has got to go. It does nothing for me. It makes me so uncomfortable and it just gives me all these like mental hurdles to jump through when in reality
Mm.
it could be as easy as just speaking up for myself. And I think that comes with also the fear of being seen and heard.
Yep.
I find that a lot of times it stems from being bullied as a child. The less attention on me, the less likely someone is to say something mean
Mhm.
to me or call me out or be triggered and like say something mean, right? Like I still very much feel like that scared kid in high school that just didn't want to be bullied or middle school or whatever. And I don't say anything because again, I'm afraid to be seen and heard and afraid to have the peace, whatever peace. I don't even know what I'm searching for, like what peace I'm trying to
Yeah.
keep. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't even make sense when I think about it logically because like
I
whose
feel like it
peace?
I feel like it
I want
does
to
when
protect
it comes, yeah, like
I
your
want to
piece.
protect
Yeah.
my peace. Like
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, I feel like whenever I think of like keeping the peace, it's like when you come with your family because you're often around them. So whenever you're, with them, you want it to be peace and like you let things go that and slide that maybe shouldn't have because yeah, you just don't really want drama in that moment. But it is so important for us to stand up for ourselves, especially with what you went through and just in general, dude. Because I'd be doing the same thing. Like when it comes to like something so simple as like someone inviting me somewhere and I don't actually want to go. And I know that I have all these other things that I need to do to be and stay in alignment, but I go anyway. And then when I come home, I'm like, dang, now I feel behind per se because I didn't get the things I wanted to done. And yeah, it just leads me in this like loop where it's like, why did I do that? I shouldn't have done that. Like,
Yeah, yeah, it just leads to so much other shit, like, where it would be so simple to just, like, cut it, and I think there's a time and place, right? Like, there are times where it's not worth it.
yeah,
Sometimes it's just not worth it, and I'm not saying, like, that's people pleasing. I think sometimes me staying quiet is keeping my peace because the conversation could be going nowhere. It's like with my dad with certain conversations. I just let some of it go because it's not harming me, it's not whatever, it's just, it's not worth the argument.
yeah,
It won't go anywhere. But there are certain things that, like what we talked about, that it needs to be nipped in the bud. I don't want
yeah,
certain things around my son. I don't want that. Like that's not the energy I want him to be around.
yeah.
And that's where I really need to stand up and just let it go and stop being afraid to speak up for me and my kid. Like I don't want to be afraid to speak up for my kid mainly.
Yeah, and I also feel like it goes to show what kind of character or the person that they are if they respond in a negative way. Like maybe initially, okay, whatever, they're reacting. But I think if they want to be around your son and they want to respect you guys' boundaries, then they should respect what you're asking, you know?
Yeah, and
Simple, plain and simple.
exactly. Also, I think some people deserve to be made uncomfortable. I think some people need to know that what they say is
Not cool. Yeah.
not cool and you should feel uncomfortable for it. Like,
Yeah.
and that's where I need to really kind of like step in and be like, okay, they deserve to be uncomfortable. I don't.
Yeah. No, I
Simple.
agree.
And then the last one on here, just to kind of wrap up out, is this is kind of just like a mindless scrolling and the overuse of screen
Oh,
time.
yeah.
This is a big one for me right now. And it's not that like I have no issues with screen time or the internet. It's just I tend to find myself like I got in a pattern postpartum especially when Oliver was really small and I was
Yeah.
stuck on the couch or nap trapped a lot. I just got in this habit of mindless scrolling, like
Mhm.
so much. And sometimes, yeah, I'm on my phone and I'm doing productive things. And I'm not saying that it's all the time, but there's a big gap that I know that if I'm being like 100% real with myself, that like I definitely overuse screen time and I definitely mindless scroll way too much. And
Yeah.
I really want
I
to
do too.
step into this year with a little bit more of intentional scrolling or intentional screen time and using screen time as a tool and not like a habit, like I was telling you.
Mhm.
I want to, I think screen time's great. I'm not going to knock it. And I know screen time with kids, especially, is different for everyone. I don't want to hear it, but my kid has been thriving. Oliver, Oliver's language is great. I think Miss Rachel has taught him so much, and it has been my survival tool throughout
Yeah.
postpartum. Truly, I
Same.
I do think, but at this point in my life and this point in my motherhood journey, I am kind of past all the initial like postpartum like heaviness. And I feel like I
Yeah.
can finally step into a different, like more present minded and more like a hands on type of role. Not that my hands aren't always on, but I do find myself
Yeah.
sometimes like, just being real. Sometimes I just have screen time on because I get stuck mindless scrolling. And now I'm
Same.
scrolling and he's mindlessly watching TV when we could very easily be doing something else. And
Yeah.
so
I
um
do the same thing.
yeah, that's where I'm at right now, and those are my outs.
Yeah, I know
A,
that.
a, a little list.
Just a little, Liz.
Just a
No,
little
I feel
list.
the same thing with everything that you said. I resonated with the last one. So, you know what's perfect about having both of us is that, like, if I forget something, you got me. If you forget something, I got you. You know what I mean? It's great. I love it.
Exactly. uh,
All right. What are we aligning with in 2024? So, the first one I have, first and foremost, is confidence in every area.
mm,
So for me, again, I have been or had the feeling of anxiousness in the past, and I want to let that go. And I feel like it's really restrained me from being confident in all areas of my life lately. Like in the past, no, I feel like I was pretty confident. I was outgoing. I could speak to whoever. But like as I've come into pregnancy and postpartum, it's been really hard for me. So yeah, just confidence in everything and also doing the things that scare me because um if you guys don't know, I've talked about it on our story, but we are going to have our first ever guest next episode and I'm just like super excited, but before even coming to this
yay.
point, I'm so excited.
Me
Before even
too.
coming to this point, I was really anxious about that. I was anxious about like interviewing someone, like what if I didn't say the right things? What if I didn't sound smart enough? You know, all of the like what ifs and negative thoughts run through me. Like, and initially they did this time, but I told myself, like, this girl, I've talked to her through the DMs and she's just so sweet, so kind. She's down to earth. And it's just like, it's going to go great. Like, what
Yeah.
if it goes great? Like, why can't I have those thoughts? And what if it
Yeah.
goes amazing? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And so, yeah, just confidence and everything. I think that even goes with like feeling like body confident too, because I feel like I'm still in this in between where I'm trying to lose weight or I feel like consciously better if I lost some weight because that's where I used to be. But
Yeah.
yeah, just full on confidence, even like with what I'm wearing or who I'm with or what I'm saying, what I'm speaking about, things like that.
I
So,
feel that it's definitely on my list in a sense. My first one is the camera loves me, but that's that's a confidence thing, and it has to do with more so like yes, with the podcast and social media and our brand, but also with my family. I tend to
yes.
a lot of my pictures are of Daniel and Oliver, or Oliver. My camera was full of my
Hmm.
kid and my partner, and cute moments of them together. And I know it's my confidence that keeps me behind the camera.
Yeah.
And Oliver's already a year and a half. That's a lot of time has gone by, and I have very minimal, like, good pictures of the two of us that aren't like selfies or something simple. And so
Hmm.
I really want to step into my confidence and like remind myself to be in front of the camera. I don't like give a shit. Like if my body's not where I want it to be, quote unquote, yet, or
Yeah.
whatever. I just want to step into my confidence as I am here now in this present moment. Just like you were saying, like I feel that in every area, right? Like in what I'm wearing and the things I do. And so that's definitely on my list, as well as self-love and self-trust. I think they all kind of go hand in
I
hand.
have that on there too. Hmm.
I have found that, like, I don't know if it's a combination. It is a combination of past choices, but I've realized this year how much I like don't trust myself in certain areas. And so self-compassion, love, trust, and confidence
Yeah,
are all like trusting my intuition, all of it. Like,
I have
all
that too.
those are all
Hmm.
like my first five or whatever. So,
Those are,
but
yeah,
I feel like they go hand in hand with confidence, though, because
yeah,
if you're confident, you're loving yourself, you trust your intuition, you have compassion for yourself. Like,
yeah,
confidence isn't just like always doing the right thing and being like, oh, you're always right. It's also having compassion for when you make a mistake or whenever you backtrack or you quote unquote fail, or all of that comes with being confident and
yeah.
having compassion for yourself and loving yourself. So, um, yeah, those are definitely high on my list.
Yeah, I have those too. And then I also have something that kind of correlates is responding and being less reactive. So I feel like when you're more confident in like the decisions
Yeah.
that you're making, and also you're doing self-care and self-compassion, you're allowing yourself to kind of take time to yourself before you react, right? I also have objectivity because it creates indifference. So like having this like objective thought on everything instead of having such like a this or that, good or bad, negative or positive. Because when you have like an indifference of like it is what it is, then it allows you to make like more decisions that align with who you want to be and your highest self, right?
Yeah, I love
So
that.
I also have peace, health, embodiment, limits on energy drains. I saw that on the post that you posted, and I was like, that is so good because I feel like a lot of the time I allow myself to be in this like drained energy state where like I know that
Yes.
if I just got up and danced a little or got up and took a walk, like I could get out of it, but I allow myself to mindlessly scroll or watch TV when I could be doing other things that benefit me and who I want to be, you know?
Yes, same. And that goes in with one of mine, which is full authentic alignment.
Yeah.
Uh, all of that, all I learned last year is how like vital being in alignment with my goals and routines and all of it. And like we've talked before, it's not like I get up every morning and I have some strict routine, but there are things that I want to get done throughout my day that I want to stick to doing. With I don't care what time, whatever. Just like I want to stay in alignment, because I've noticed just how I have like almost like out of alignment hangovers, where if I let
Mhm.
myself kind of drop off of the things I'm trying to do to for like my mental health and physical health and mental, or yeah, I said that, emotional health is what I meant to say. If I start to decline, I notice it just like starts to snowball. And then
Yeah.
I have to like, it takes a couple days to like come down and like, okay, now I got to push myself back up. It's almost like I'm hungover. Like, okay, now I got to force it. And then I have to get back the ball rolling back. And then it's like, if I were to just stay in consistent, full alignment, then I wouldn't have such like roller coasters.
Yeah. I
And
agree with that. I have that on mine too. More commitment and consistency
yeah,
specifically.
and it definitely helps. And I've just noticed that a lot lately is a pattern of like, when I start to go downhill mindset wise is when I'm out of alignment. And then it takes time for me to bring it back up and start
Mhm.
over. And it's like the same shame, blame, guilt cycle. And I just am over that. And so, that goes into like being intentional with my days and my time, like being way more
Yeah.
intentional with everything and way more present and in the
Yep.
moment with Oliver, but life in general. I find sometimes just like, I'm not gonna lie, playing with him is fun and I so enjoy it. But sometimes I check out and it's like I got to get back into being present, like with him in the moment,
Mhm.
and like uh, it's a lot. I'm always home with him, so I'm not saying like every single second. You're never going to be fully present every single second, but I do
Yeah.
want to really put into practice being more present more often throughout my days,
Mhm.
and especially with him, he's so little and he's in such a fun stage. Like I truly am finally at a time in my life where like with motherhood where I'm like I don't want to miss a moment. I feel like a
Yeah.
lot of postpartum, I was like, "Oh, I would get through
I,
this."
yeah. I gotta get through this.
I and I read something one day that you're either a baby person or a toddler person, and I'm coming to realize that I definitely think I'm more of a toddler person.
Me
Not that
too.
I didn't like love Oliver as a baby. And not that I don't have, I'm not some hardcore monster that's like, I look back at newborn pictures and I'm like, oh, he's so small. I miss him being so small, but I absolutely do not miss the newborn stage. And I absolutely do not miss most of the first year. That's just me. I loved him. He was such a chunky boy. Every time I see a little picture of him or video, I get a little heart and I'm like, oh. But let me tell you something.
See, we
I
know
don't
you
want to go
love
back. I
him.
don't want to go back.
Yeah, I feel that.
And so right, but right now I want to take in every moment because he's so much fun right now. I love this stage. And so yeah, I just want to be present with that.
Yeah, I have being present too, more self-love for my journey presently. So like, loving what I'm doing currently. And I feel like I know this maybe be extreme, but this is what I read in The Power of Now. Even like washing your hands, bro. Like think about, we do it so casually, like you don't even think about it. But if you like massage your hand a little bit, I did that the other day in like an embodiment practice I did, it was Reiki. And it just like, I never just like massage myself. Like I want to be more in tune and in touch with my body because like we are our body, right? We're the soul
Yeah, I feel
inside
that.
this body. And like, yeah, I just feel like I'm very out of touch with my body and being present in general. So I have that one too. I also feel like going off of what you said is like when they're babies, it's like how much like you can only be so present in a sense, right? Like they're not talking, they're not communicating, they're not doing too much. So like when you're in
Yeah.
the toddler stage, you can actually play with them and do more hands-on activities with them. So it does make it easier to be more present. So I feel the same way though. I feel like I've just had such a hard time with sleep that I'm like just ready to be out of the stage.
No, and that's exactly how I felt about it too. And it's like toddlerhood also allows you to kind of check out a little bit more because they do have more independence. And that's where I find myself
Yeah.
like kind of like allowing him, like, it's great. He should have independent play. He should do all of those things. I want him to be independent. But also like I want to be present for that to see it. And that also comes with another in for me, which is reading over mindless screen time. So he likes books right
Mm-hmm.
now. He likes to go pull books. I can even read certain books like I'm obviously not some books, but I can read certain books out loud with him in the same room.
Yeah.
Like, and it would be just beneficial for both of us. And so I just want to be kind of like finding things like that over the mindless scrolling or screen time. And I
Yeah.
really want to step into like surrender to the flow, like you were talking about, with that being your biggest lesson. That's definitely an end for me this year. And with that, also like stepping into the flow of my soft feminine energy.
Yeah.
I've been struggling, battling that kind of, back and forth. That's where I want to be. I feel like I've done a lot of stepping into that this year, but I
Mhm.
really want to fully kind of like cross that bridge and like step into that and really
Yeah.
allow myself to be softer and allow myself to be like even my relationship, allow myself to be kind of taken care of and take on the feminine role and let him be in his masculine and not try and like have this power grab for it, which I feel like I've been doing lately or like
Mhm.
for a while
Mhm.
now. And
Mhm.
I don't want to do that. I want to just like step back and allow myself to be the homemaker and the stay-at-home mom and like allow that energy and not kind of like resent it in a way. I don't, if that
Yeah, I
makes
feel
sense.
like resent or stress about what you're not doing,
Yeah.
I feel like I tend to stress about not making money or not putting, um, I don't know, more effort towards other things when like my time right now is to be a mother, it's to be a stay-at-home mom. Like on top of what we're doing too, I think all this is okay too, but like, it is okay to also just be a mom, like
Yeah.
nothing bad about that. Nothing about being a stay-at-home wife or whatever you are. Um,
Yeah.
I also
100%.
I also wanted to talk about just taking aligned and inspired action because I think a lot of the times I get into, which I guess goes along with letting go of the perfectionism, but I get into this like thought process of, okay, I'll make that later because it wasn't perfect, or let me redo this because it wasn't perfect. When in reality, people just like real shit. And I can only really give you real shit if I don't overthink it. And I think oftentimes I do overthink it. And so I don't allow myself just to take that action, or I'm afraid of being seen with what I'm talking about saying because I don't want to feel, not smart or unintelligent. So, so
Yeah, no, I
yeah,
feel that. That's
yes,
For sure. I'm
Yeah.
right there with you on that, and it definitely kind of like ties into all of it, right? And
Yeah.
also it goes with another one, which is grow our brand and business. That's in for me this year. I know it's
Yeah.
in for you,
Mhm.
and that's kind of a more like outside of motherhood thing we're jumping into, but I really want to align with I'm so proud of us for getting it started and jumping into it before I feel like even like I know that we didn't feel ready when we did, but I feel like we did it at the perfect aligned time. And this year I really want to dive into that. And like we've talked about this obviously, but
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
I just want to grow our brand and this podcast and this community and really put forth the effort to that in a lot of ways. And that helps
Mhm.
with all the like being intentional, and all of it kind of ties in together with being intentional with days and time and internet use and doing all of that just kind of all in one kind of
Yeah, I
ball.
have I have that same one too. I want to focus on, the podcast and growth and growing our community. And also I feel like it's the perfect time to insert this. If you think that we should interview anyone, or if you yourself want to be interviewed, please let us know, because we want to get on this path of interviewing someone more frequently, like almost every month if we can. And so, yeah. So if you want to be interviewed, or you feel like someone would be a great person, or you'd want to learn more from them and we can interview them, let us know. I think that's another way that we can grow our podcast too. And they can also grow their visibility towards other people. So I'm excited for that part of our journey too.
Yes, 100%. I think that any feedback, we would love your feedback, your questions, your anything. Honestly, we really enjoy talking to you guys and we really appreciate y'all. And yeah, do you have other ends? My other end, I have one last end, and it's just for me, this is a personal one, but changing my environment and focusing on the energy of the environment around me and like getting my energy to a point where I don't what's the word I'm looking for? I protect my peace in a sense that like
Oh, yeah, peace on earth.
other people's energy doesn't affect mine. And
Yeah.
I that's extremely important for me because we are moving back to Corpus and I want to go into Corpus with a new fresh mindset on what it is and not past experiences from living there before. And it really is inviting more community and family into my life, and that's very much in my life this year is community and family and being more active in that role with when we move,
Yeah.
and just kind of like staying in true alignment until we get there. So that's a big one for me in the
Yeah.
next 6 months. Yeah.
Yeah. I have protecting my peace as well. So it correlates. But
Yeah.
yeah, those are my last ones. I'll go into, are you
No,
good?
that's it. Yeah.
Okay.
Those are my ins, those are my outs.
Right. Now getting into how we can manifest, like what tools we're using. And I feel like Danielle and I have the same tools. We have to have the same tools because we do the same tools.
Yeah,
But
pretty much.
definitely I'm just gonna kind of go down them, and then if you have anything to add, go ahead and add, okay?
Yeah, go for it.
So I have journaling, of course. And I feel like that goes into like a limiting belief blaster. Now you could do this in your head or you could do this journaling, but I've taken a few courses that give me like a limiting belief blaster so you can like blast through your limiting beliefs pretty much,
Yeah.
whatever's holding you back. I have somatic shaking, ecstatic dance, dance in general, meditation, being present. Do you have any you would like to add?
Yeah, those are my tools, but also I've been incorporating I like to do a lot of different journaling. Mostly it's free based. I just like word vomit all over the page.
Mhm.
I have that plant medicine journal that I've been like half keeping up with, but a big one that I am trying to incorporate into this year is the 369 method of having one affirmation that you write 3 times in the morning, 6 times in the afternoon, and 9 times before you go to sleep.
Haven't heard of that. That's cool.
And for two reasons that I wanted to do it. One, I've seen people talk about it for a while and it like keeps coming up for me. And so I'm like, maybe I
Mhm.
should just give it a try. And two, because my journaling's so sporadic, I feel like this will allow me to like have a set easy thing to just like journal and jot down,
Yeah.
and something that I can knock out really quick. And that way, like I am journaling daily, whether it's I get a full, because like I overwrite usually. So I could sit down for an hour, 2 hours, just mind dumping, but I don't have that time anymore. I just don't. And
Yeah.
I've done it the last 2 days and I really like it so far. So I'm just gonna keep it going, keep her up. And that's the like main tool I'm taking into this year that's different than I have before
Gotcha.
and
Yeah,
different
no,
than those.
kind of going off of like what you just said with journaling, something I've been doing for the past like month or two. My friend actually mentioned it to me. It's just writing down your goals every day. But the way I specifically do it is like in a manifestation way. So I write, "Thank you, universe, for blank. I'm feeling blank." And then afterwards, I usually just do three. So my top three goals that I'm really focusing on, and I've been doing that every morning. And honestly, it just sets my day up so beautifully. Like I just feel like those are my focus for the day. I feel more energized to do it. And if I don't get it done in the morning, I do it at night. But the whole point is to manifest in a way of like you already have that thing presently, right? So I'm saying thank you, universe, for, I'll just go ahead and say one of the things, right? Thank you, universe, for 2,000 listeners on our podcast. I feel so grateful that we're reaching more women and more people in general. We're growing our community daily. And then at the end of me saying all of those, like just my top three, right? I then write this or something better because the universe is always listening. So it can grant you what you're exactly asking, or it can give you something better. So I feel like that just really aligns with like, yeah, manifesting in the way that I want to going forward. And also, I tend to, if I feel like writing more, I'll write another goal if I feel like it, or I'll just write gratitude affirmations more. Like, thank you so much for my beautiful family and health that we have together, things like that. So, just really writing in present tense because that's how your subconscious mind, this is what manifestation is, right? Your subconscious mind believes it to be now and it only knows the present moment. So, it brings it into like, brings it into your life presently or like, eventually, but presently at the same time.
Yeah, no, and that's important to note that there's just so like it's that's very similar, same but different. You're
Yeah.
writing three once a day, all day, but it's all just as powerful as the next. Like you don't
Hmm.
have to do all of this, you don't have to do any of it. There's many different things to go about, especially when in the world of journaling. There are so many different ways. I think the most important thing is what Dakota already mentioned is that like writing in the present tense, writing as if you already have that, it's
Hmm.
already yours, and thanking the universe for it presently. So, and that's the main, like the underlying, the blanket of all of these different journaling tools. Same with the 369 method. I'm writing in
Yeah.
the present as if I already have this, just multiple times over and over again.
Yeah.
And she's doing it in a different way, but it's the same concept. Like just make
Yeah.
sure you're writing in present tense and already thinking the universe. And whenever I journal, mind dump and journal, I do the gratitudes and affirmations like you do and write my goals down a lot. And then I end it with this or something better. And then I also say thank you and I love you.
Hmm.
All right. And and so yeah, I think journaling is a really powerful tool if you don't do anything else but you like to write. I highly encourage journaling, especially like if your mind's constantly going. Mine
Yeah.
is. And so for me, mind dumping in a journal, even if like I prefer to written hand, but I also do it on my computer. I have a blog, not a blog, but I have basically a Word document that I have a lot of journal, quote unquote, journal entries in. But any way you can do it, just get those thoughts out. If you're like having a hard day, dump all those
Yeah.
thoughts and like clear your head in that way. And it helps so much. And I truly think that what Dakota does and I do in writing present tense, it not only is powerful, but it feels powerful. It,
Yeah.
it definitely feels like, okay, kind of like normalizes that thought in your brain. Like, yeah, I already have this. This is
Yeah.
mine. And sticking to whatever you do. And then whatever resonates with you out of these, that's what you
That's what I was
do.
gonna say.
Don't feel pressured to do all these things. I think sometimes we
Hmm.
get caught up in all these, like, even when I was looking at the 369 method and I started to like look how different people do it, I found a lot of like contradicting stuff and people
Hmm.
doing it one way and other people doing it another way. And then I started to like get kind of caught up in the like, what way is the right way? And then I'd remind myself, like, there is no right or wrong way. It's about what your intention is and setting intentions for it and knowing like where your heart is and where your intentions are is where it's going to lead.
Yeah.
And it's powerful however you do it. You are powerful in your own way, and what works for one isn't going to work for another. and consistency. I think another thing is to remind consistency. If you do something like what Dakota's talking about or what I'm talking about, and a week has gone by and you're like, oh, see nothing, baby. It might take you 6 months. It might take you a year. It might take you 2 years. I know that sounds like extensive, but like, I think we all have to. I'm talking to myself here too. I'm very impatient. I would love to see every manifestation I have tomorrow, but the reality of it is that we would probably fuck that all up if that happened to all of us. So
Yeah, and that's why
it's
the universe only grants you what you're an energetic match to.
yeah,
Because if
it's
you weren't ready for
divine timing.
something, yeah, if you weren't ready for it, you're not going to get it. So that's why it's just important to like focus on the things that you do want, because eventually you will be an energetic match fully to that thing. And it really does take like, going through your limiting beliefs. Also, I feel like it takes getting like the energy out of your body. So that's when I feel like somatic shaking, ecstatic dance, things like that really does help you. I also didn't write it on here, but I have EFT. I've been doing that actually lately. If you guys know
Have
what
you?
it is, yeah, and I actually really
Yeah.
like it. It's something
I,
that's simply at my hands, like not that I have to go like not all crazy for it, but you know what I
Yeah,
mean.
yeah, yeah. No, I've done it a couple times for certain things, and I always like tend to not forget, but it doesn't come to mind when I'm thinking of things like right away.
Yeah.
But no, you're right. When the last time I did it for cramps, and I was so shocked because
Mm.
it actually worked, like period cramps, and it actually worked really well. So don't knock it till you try things. And I'm with her on the somatic shaking. Somatic shaking is so powerful. We talked about that in our last episode, but
Hmm.
um, yeah, there's so many tools available to you, and you got this. Is my main
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah. If you need more help with any tools, send us a DM or something, and we can definitely, I don't know, guide you towards a way. All I do for EFT, because I don't specifically know how to do that without someone guiding me. And just like I do meditation sometimes too, go onto YouTube and search it. Just EFT for, what did I do yesterday? Money blocks. EFT for money blocks. So
It's it
EFT for anxiety, whatever you need.
it's tapping for those who don't know. I Do you know the first two, the EF?
Um, no,
I've Me
I
neither.
can't think of
Okay,
them right now.
listen, EFT, but it's tapping on certain like pressure points on your body.
Hmm.
In case those
Yeah.
of you are like, "What the fuck is EFT?" Like,
Yeah.
I know that that can be kind of, but that it is really powerful. And just like everything, man, we live in such a great age with the internet. Like, you can get whatever you want on the line. I do the same things. Most of my meditations are guided. I use
Yeah, me
YouTube
too.
for guided meditations. I use YouTube for that's how I learned certain somatic shaking. I use YouTube for TikTok. TikTok, man, there's a lot of information out there. So if you have any
Yeah.
questions that we can't answer or that we don't answer, if you don't want to reach out and you just want to look it up, feel free. There's lots of options. There, again, no right or wrong way to do things. Just find what works for you.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that was all the tools that I had that I can think of that I'm presently doing or intend to be doing. Um,
Same. I tried to not add too much to my list going in. Not obviously there's a lot of ins and outs here, but when it comes to like adding new things, these are most of what Dakota talked are things I've already implemented and have a good standing with, and that's why I
mhm,
say 369 is the only new one I'm adding,
mhm,
because I don't want to overwhelm myself, and you shouldn't either. If you have none of these practices, try adding like one or two that feel good at a time. Don't feel like you have to add all of them, even if all of them sound interesting to you. Go
yeah,
slow. Don't burn yourself out. I know it's the new year. I'm talking to myself here too. I know it's the new year and we want to set all these like high intensity things, but don't burn yourself out. Have compassion along the way and allow it to flow and allow what works to work. And if it doesn't, switch it up, change it up. It
yeah,
doesn't all have to like just, let's all not put a lot of pressure on ourselves coming out the gate of New Year's. But also, I hope you all have a wonderful New Year's. And I
yes,
hope that everyone's year was a lesson or blessing or whatever, all of the above. And I hope that we can all enter the new year on a clean slate. And if you're not one of those new year, new me people, then good for you. I hope you still have a good new year. But if
yeah,
you are one of those people, I hope you do have a new year and new you. I really do. I hope we're all able to shift into the identities and versions of ourselves that we desire to be.
yep. I love that, Danielle. Just to leave you guys on a affirmation note, because that's what we're trying to do right at the end of each podcast. We want to leave you guys with an affirmation that you
Yep.
can implement into your day-to-day lives. So you can use the one Danielle mentioned earlier. I feel like the ones that I've mentioned in earlier in the podcast, or what we have specifically for you, is what is oh, sorry, what is desired by me is destined for me. So whatever you desire is already on its way. You can use multiple. You don't have to use this one, obviously, right? But yeah, I'm also want to send you a kind of like love and light to your new year. I hope you guys manifest all the things that you are hoping for in 2024. And yeah, I love you guys. Thank you so much for being here. So much gratitude towards all of you. And I can't wait to see what our 2024 brings us.
Yes. Thank you guys. And we love you. And we'll see you in the next episode.
Bye.
Bye.